Hey guys, welcome back to Project Bodybuilding. I'm here with another recap video for you today. Today I will be giving you the top 5s from all the men's divisions from this weekend's EVLS Prague Pro. This was the second major pro show after the Olympia we've had, so we had a few top guys jump into this one to try and get an early qualification or just compete for the hell of it. Either way, it made for a really good show. So let's kill the intro and just jump right into this recap. If you guys like these types of videos, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe for more too. I do these recaps after every major pro show, and I sometimes even cover these shows live, so subscribe and turn on notifications so you can stay up to date on what's happening in the world of bodybuilding. Starting off with a different division for a change, let's begin with Classic. Your top 5 in the Classic Physique division was 5th, Karol Rodzewski, 4th, Sebastian Theorel, 3rd, Alexander Westermeyer, 2nd, Michael DeBull. I do want to chime in a little bit here. I thought he peaked a few percent better at the Olympia. He was a little flat here in my eyes, and that made his conditioning look more like a 10 out of 10 instead of the normal 11 out of 10 that we see from Michael. He's still phenomenal, don't get me wrong. And then obviously the fullness took a little bit of a hindrance with the coming in flat. It doesn't really matter though, because he was so far ahead of everyone below him. He's 6th in the world right now, and his only competition was the guy above him, who just happened to be 3rd in the world as of right now. So really, this was kind of his floor and ceiling at the same time. Still, I think Michael had a better back than first place and some really good muscularity, but it just wasn't enough. In first place, your 2023 Classic Physique Prague Pro champion was Urs Kalasinski, and this is absolutely surprising to no one. He's one of these guys that joined this lineup and are still competing after the Olympia just for the fun of it. He just competed at a smaller classic show in Texas last week and dominated after coming off a 3rd place finish at this year's Olympia. And this show was no different from that smaller classic one in Texas. He absolutely dominated. Now he's shutting it down for the year. He's more than qualified at this point, and out of all 3 of those showings, he wasn't a hair off in any of them. And sorry to end on a negative note, but I do have to say, $2,000 for the winner of the second biggest division of one of the bigger pro shows of the year? Seriously? Anyway, now let's break into your 212 results. In 5th, we had Georgi Adiskashvili. Sorry, but that was my best attempt. In 4th, we had Dawid Sonoda. Taking the bronze medal, we had Lucas Garcia. He was 5th at last week's Romania Pro, but now he's moved up. Great physique, pretty short, but it's good for this division. He really brings that compact look, very dense and complete, and he brought some good conditioning here too. Taking the runner-up spot was Giuseppe Zagarella. This guy's been getting a lot of hype from these last 2 shows now that he's switched from Classic to the 212. His legs are crazy, and while the upper body needs to come up to match a little bit, he doesn't need to add much. He honestly shouldn't add much at all because he's got insane lines right now. A few more pounds on the upper body, and then he's got a tremendous lower body, a more balanced upper body, and some great lines. And your 212 Prague Pro champion was Ahmad Ashkanani. This is yet again another one of those guys from the Romania Pro that is just competing for the heck of it. And before the Romania Pro, he just placed 5th at this year's Olympia, but now he has another 2 pro wins under his belt after this one in Prague. Now, I did see a lot of heat being thrown his way. I saw a lot of hate on the washed out midsection, especially the lack of separation. I'll defend Ahmad a little. You can't get around that his midsection was fairly poor, but he's still super conditioned. Genetically, he's not the most separated, especially at this point in his career, but overall, if you take a look, he was super grainy. And overall, he is pretty complete. Now, yes, the waist is widening a little bit as he's getting older, but he's still got some okay proportions. Overall, I really don't have much more to say here. This division's outcome was very predictable and was another solid win for Ahmad. Now let's jump over to men's physique. You guys know that I am not a men's physique channel. I don't cover this a whole lot, only when it gets really interesting. It's nothing against the competitors here. It's just that I don't cover men's physique that often. But I still want to give you your top 5. Unfortunately though, I'm just going to pop up the full top 5 on the screen right now because all these guys' names are way too hard for me to pronounce. So there's your top 5 in the men's physique division from the Prague Pro. I guess I could say a little bit about the winner of this division. It's really nice to see Ian is still staying active after retiring from open and downsizing.
Do a little trolling. It's called we do a little trolling.
In all seriousness, Miroslav is now 2 for 2 because last week he won the Romania Pro men's physique division, and now he's doubled his wins, winning the men's physique division at the Prague Pro this weekend. And finally, let's get into your open division. Now, before we get into the top 5, I want to preface one thing. Yes, Horse MD Marcelo DeAngelis did not compete at all at the Prague Pro. A lot of people had Horse placing higher this week, simply because last week, in a very, very similar lineup, he was 3rd, beating beating Nathan Diasha and a lot of other big names, so they expected a high placing out of Horst at this show. However, due to some medical issues, he was unable to compete. Those medical issues being dehydration, and then this extended to stomach issues, including diarrhea and vomiting. In these text messages with his coach, Milo Sarchev, you can see that he was really wanting to compete. He said that he believed he could even beat Krizo with how good he was looking, but unfortunately he could not keep food down. He was way too weak, and him and Milos both decided that it was too dangerous to compete. So he didn't compete at the Prague Pro, and no, he will not be doing next week's Japan Pro, unfortunately. He's decided to sit that one out as well. This is very unfortunate because we all know Horst would have done some damage in this lineup just like he did last week, but hey, this is his pro debut. He's just getting started. Anyway, now I want to go ahead and break into your top 5. In 5th, we had Jan Turek. Jan, or Jan, I'm not really sure, he's been competing a lot this year, particularly in the European shows. This was his 5th time competing this year. He's flown under the radar mostly because he hasn't made the top 5 at any time he's competed this year, but this time not only did he place top 5 at this show, but he actually beat some great names to do so, including Roman Fritz, who literally just placed 14th at the Olympia earlier this month. That's gotta feel good for Jan. Repeating his placing from the Romania Pro last week was Nathan Diasha. Although he did repeat his place, I did feel that he brought an overall better package here. At the Romania Pro, he was a little washed out in some areas. At this show, he was a lot fuller, which is his strength, you know, those 3D muscle bellies, so I'm glad he played into it. But now I think the judges are kind of wising up to how odd Nathan's physique can look at times. He has an insanely long torso and very high inserting lats, and that can throw off a lot of poses for him, especially the rear poses. Still, he's a very complete bodybuilder, don't get me wrong. You do not win 11 pro shows without being good. He's competed a lot this year, but now I think he should shut it down for the season. He brought some really good packages earlier in the year, like at the Flex and Europa Pros, but he really hasn't matched that peak. Don't get me wrong, I love when guys compete a lot, it's what they should do, but it's also okay to recognize when you need a break. Let's all keep this in perspective though. Nathan has done 5 shows this year after taking a couple of years off, and that wasn't exactly downtime as he experienced a couple injuries to his biceps in that time. So all in all, this was a great comeback season for Nathan, and he's proved that he still has plenty of gas left in the tank. In 3rd, we have Rubiel Masquera, aka Neckzilla. This was the surprise of the show in my opinion. He wasn't even on the competitors list for this one. That's because literally a day before the Prague Pro, he actually got his pro card at the Prague Amateur. And after impressing everyone there, he just decided to throw his hat in the ring and see how he can measure up against the big boys in the IFBB Pro League, and I'm sure he's glad he did that. He beat multiple Olympians, including Roman and Nathan, and for him to place 3rd in this lineup in what is literally one of his first shows ever is incredible. He has flaws, but honestly, I'm not even going to mention them here. He just turned pro this weekend. I'm just so impressed that he can pull this off, so he's earned the right not to be critiqued by some keyboard warrior today. Coming in at 2nd place was your returning champion, Michael Krizo. He won last year, but was unable to do so this year. But on the bright side, he was much better than the Olympia. At the Olympia, he was shredded. Honestly, one of the most shredded guys there if you look closely. Krizo used to struggle with conditioning, so he's fixed that problem it seems. But at the Olympia, he looked a little deflated. Definitely not flat, because I think it's impossible for Krizo to be flat, but he wasn't bursting full and round like we all know him. At the Prague Pro, he was a lot more full. The conditioning took like a 2% hit maybe, but it was worth it. He met a good balance between fullness and conditioning. Playing to your strengths is something everyone should do, but it just wasn't enough. I do believe on Krizo's absolutely best day and Samson on his absolute worst day could have opened the door for a possible Krizo victory. It may not have been above a 1% chance, but I do believe there was a non-zero chance for Krizo to win this. But again, you have to jump through a lot of hoops to get to that scenario. Anyway, I think with this package alone, he could have placed a little higher into that top 6, maybe even top 5 at the Olympia. This was an expected placing, but still a good placing, and he improved, and what more can you ask for? And in 1st place, the winner of the 2023 EVLS Prague Pro was Samson Dauda. This was expected. Obviously, he was the favorite to win. He won Romania last week, and the week before, he claimed the spot for the 3rd best bodybuilder in the world. And just to add to that hill that these other guys needed to climb to win, Samson brought an absolutely amazing package. I believe it was his best since the Arnold Classic earlier this year. Ever since the Olympia, he's gotten better. He was a little soft at the Olympia, I gotta be honest, and those god-awful lights didn't help him at all. But he was a little bit tighter at Romania last weekend, and now this week he was tighter yet again. And Samson, like Krizo, is one of those guys that are just never going to be absolutely flat, so he can really push the conditioning and still have some pop. Honestly, this package was very, very close to this year's Arnold version, where he was at his best by most people's estimation. This honestly may have been slightly ahead of that version though, since he's a little bit bigger now, but still has a similar level of conditioning and dryness. Finally, I want to give a little bit more props to Samson. I said this in my last video, this guy is competing because he wants to be a good ambassador for the sport, and it's working. We never see guys compete when they don't have to, but just this year, year, Samson has done the Arnold, the Olympia, and now 2 pro shows. And next year, it sounds like he'll be doing the Olympia again, and of course, adding the Arnold Ohio and Arnold UK on top of that. I love to see it. I know all you guys love to see it too. Who wouldn't want to see the best guys in the world compete more often, as long as they're keeping their health in check and aren't hurting their physiques? That can happen to some guys, but in Samson's case, it's only made him better. And I'll say the same thing like I did with Chriso. If Samson brought this package to the Olympia, he probably wouldn't have been 3rd. I definitely think he would have been higher, but I'll leave you guys to speculate the details. And that was my recap of the 2023 EVLS Prague Pro. This show is actually one of the best pro shows of the year, historically. It has a long history of amazing competitors and an incredible hall of fame when it comes to the past winners of the show. Kai Green, Dexter Jackson, Samson Dauda twice now, and many other all-time greats have won this show. This time was no different. The level of competition and high-profile names across each division was exceptional. A big reason for this is because the show happened just 2 weeks post-Olympia this year, so you had Olympia-level guys taking advantage of already being in shape, and they decided to jump in. Big props to those guys. Anyway, I want to extend a big congratulations to everyone who competed this weekend, and an even bigger congratulations to all the division winners. If you guys enjoyed this recap and want to see more so you can stay up to date, make sure you subscribe. Like I said at the beginning, I cover every major pro show here on my channel, so subscribe if you want to see more. With all that said, I want to thank you guys for watching. Again, hit those like and subscribe buttons, and I'll see you all in the next video.